Welcome to Pario Magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by a music composer whose latest work, Limbo The Return, is set to bring its electric mix of circus and cabaret to the Grand Electric in Sydney in May. Welcome to Pario Magazine, Sxip Shirey.
Hey, it's Sxip Shirey. Actually, there's no L in it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's because you read by seeing the beginning of the word and the end of the word, and your brain fills it in.
Yep,
So people always put L's in my name.
sorry about that. So we're here today to chat about your journey composing Limbo The Return.
Yeah,
Before we dive into that, do you want to give our audience a little introduction as to who Sxip is away from music and theatre?
away from music and theater,
Yep,
like my life aside from music and theater.
correct.
I don't know. I don't really have a life away from music. I actually don't. Like it's such a that's a funny question. Uh, I grew up in Ohio. I grew up in the woods. I grew up with a mathematician father, but we did a lot of labor, chopping wood, growing gardens. And I guess I thought I was going to be a physicist myself. And so we'd be working out in the woods talking about black holes and the theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. And that was my childhood. I loved the Beatles. I was obsessed with them. Um, and I would the Beatles songs always would end, and often there'd be this strange trail off thing. Some odd thing would happen at the end of the song, and they'd fade out. And I always wanted that to be a full song, so I think that's what motivated me a lot. But I did go to school for physics at first, but then I started playing music at the dance department. They had a contemporary dance department and started experimenting with sound, and then the music just sort of took over. And so obviously, it's hard for me to talk about who Skip is. I'm a dad. I have a 4.5 year old. He's in Brooklyn right now, but even we have a very creative, and my wife and I do these large immersive choral pieces, and we build these kind of, for lack of a better word, very accessible but avant-garde performance pieces based around sound and gesture and choirs, and my son performs on them sometimes. He even performed before he was born. We did a
Wow.
piece where at the end of the piece, it's on YouTube. It's called a piece for Thelonious, and we use a fetal Doppler, which is we put my wife's belly and broadcast his heartbeat into the room. So yeah, it's hard for me to even talk about my life outside of. Uh, music is just the undercurrent of everything that I'm doing. Yeah.
That's a pretty common answer I get with a lot of creative people. It's
That's a strange question.
their creativity absorbs their life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a funny thing. Yeah, but I'm sure that's true for anybody. Like if you were into like doing model building, like you're making boats or something, you'd be thinking about boats all the time. So
Yeah, yeah. If
yeah,
if the passion is strong enough, it just becomes that's your
yeah,
life now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, physics, music, musical theatre, very different worlds. Was it just
Yes,
simply
yes, and no. It's all sounding solving. I like a more direct example of that is songwriting. Is songwriting is harder than anything else that I do. I mean, you can always write a melody. I could randomly shut my eyes and write something at random. But what makes a good song is a very, very abstract. Like, why is one song good? Like I always think it's funny. Like, there's certain bands that people are like. This is a great band, but it's not a more sophisticated band than bands that people don't like. It's not never necessarily a more complex thing or a more this or that. It's just very abstract what makes something good to someone. But I think of songs as emotional equations, like A plus B equals C, and with lyric writing as emotional equations. And of course, with physics, you're always creating equations. You're taking knowledge. You're taking a knowledge, and you're having that knowledge communicated with more knowledge, and then you anticipate the answer, and that's what songwriting is. You're taking this kind of abstract cultural knowledge that you're holding in your body, and you're pressing it against other things, and then you're implying the next thing. So I don't know if it's so different. I mean, it is and it's not. you know.
Is that the approach you've taken with Limbo the Return and composing the music for the various, like, quite different acts throughout the show?
Well, it's a mix. What Limbo is that Scott approached me and have you ever seen the film Amelie? Have you ever seen that film?
No, I haven't.
Amelie has a great soundtrack, and the composer is Jan Tiersen. But he didn't compose the music for Amelie. They went to his back catalog, and they took the best bits. And Scott did some of that. He's like looking at my music and says, "Hey, I really love to use this song in the show, or use this." And then so some of it was good music directing, saying, "Well," and then some of it was like composing new stuff for the pieces. So it's both. Uh, I am really interested in uh, I love servicing the act. So like Mika, there's a song that I wrote. I was working on it when we developed Limbo, and it's a song called "Will You Watch Me as I Fall," and that's the only lyrics in it. Uh, I think successful theater music and happens when here's a strategy. I teach at this amazing avant-garde theater school. Again, they don't like the word avant-garde, but whatever. Called Norwegian Theater Academy in Norway. And I what I tell my students is incomplete things demand completion. So meaning you could have a whole jazz piece and have a guy walk across the stage as this jazz music's playing, or you could just take the bass line. If you take the bass line, you leave space for that person walking to complete the composition. So what I'm trying to do is complete the composition with anything I choose or compose for the circus. And there's many ways to do that. In the case of many of the songs in I use in circus, I don't have a verse. I just have a chorus. The verse is the physical action. You won't be thinking of this while you're watching it, but I leave space for the music and the physical artist. I make space in the music for the physical artist to fuse with the music. So it's not about it's not composition and action. It's just composition and action as the same thing. And I do that because I want the music to act as the emotional and empathetic bridge between the viewer and the performer on stage. And so those that's how. So creating the music is, you know, like with that actor. Remember, I just played the song around Mika, who does the act, and he looked at me and said, "Who is that for?" And I said, "For you," because I was. It's one way I tested. I'll just play the music like kind of ambiently while people are getting ready, and I'm often right. Like the artist that I want to love it will love it. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to it, but I just find it. I use breath a lot, like literally amplified breath through pitch shifter. So it's this. So it becomes this. The intimate sound of breath becomes a big environmental thing. That's another way to suck the audience on stage, because if you hear someone breathing, you naturally try to match their breath. So this is a kind of abstract answer to your question, but I sat with Scott. We listened to my music. I created new music, and it's a pretty fucking amazing soundtrack. I can say that. Like it's a joy to play this music, um, and and you won't forget it. I write with surprising sounds, and I love I call it hooks, or what I call music you can take with you. Like I love handing someone a melody that they can take with them when they leave the tent.
Okay. And when the artists then get the music, is it like a collaborative process with them sort of working their performance around the music, and then do you sort of have any input into that?
No. Oh yeah, that's not true. There's a new piece called Clumsy Ballerina. And yeah, it starts with this neoclassical beginning that's a little stuttery. And the idea is that the performer's kind of trying to find their body. I'm working with Ben, who's a great Cordelice artist from the UK. And so with him, we work together, and I do this thing where I'm going, and I'm like, I'm kind of sucking him from the audience. So yeah, so I guess yeah, sometimes, and sometimes not. You know, it sounds weird, but I kind of, half of being a good band leader is knowing who to choose to be in your band, but also knowing, what music are you going to present to this particular player that they just do the work themselves. So as a music director, I'm looking at the performer and saying, I'm going to hand you this thing and you're going to know exactly what to do with it. It's
Mhm.
not my job. It shouldn't be my job to say, hey, you should raise your leg on this, but unless there's a little specific thing saying, hey, this music kind of refers to this, so kind of lean into this aspect of it. So I don't really see it as my job. I see it as the director's job.
Yep.
um, and I'll say something if I need to.
Is that then a thrilling experience for you to see what the performers have come up with to complement the music?
Is it thrilling? It should. I'd like to say yes, but not because I love it, but it's more like I'm working. I'm in work mode. So I enjoy it, but I'm always in work mode with that. So even when they're performing, I'm watching and then I'm responding. I'm thinking about what they're doing. So there's not a moment to be thrilled with it. It's a pretty, it's weird. I like Circus because it's kind of working class music. Like I like music that serves I like thinking about how art serves a function. I have a saying, which is art is a tool for living, which is, so you create art, it's a tool, I hand it to you, and you can do something with it, like a hammer. Like, what are you going to do with this tool? So, um, I would say it's it the the overall process is thrilling. I love working with circus arts, but when I'm in it, I'm just focused on servicing that artist. I don't have time to be thrilled. I'm trying to figure out if I'm giving them what they need to do their job. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, maybe like opening nights when you can finally sit down and take it all in and absorb it and enjoy the
No,
performance.
it's
Okay, no,
never.
still not.
I have fun, but it's like dancing. Like if you really enjoy dancing with someone, you're not. Is it thrilling? I mean, you're yeah, but you're kind of in the moment at every point. So I'm always just thinking how I can do it better.
Yep.
I think I've done a perfect show one time. And we're the band too. We're like, how can we make this better? Hey, try this. Hey, I didn't like that. Oh, this time I fucked up, or this time, it's so Limbo especially. This is a complex show to do. It's hard. There's all these different instruments and different techniques, and a lot of the instruments I use are kind of janky. I have a guitar that's very specific, a Resophonic guitar. I use an old Casio tone keyboard to get a very specific sound. I'm using a mini mode, which has no presets. You've got to fiddle with the buttons. I'm playing stacked harmonicas through pitch shifters. As I play the harmonicas get ruined as you play them because all the moisture from your mouth is ruining the reeds. So I'm always like I'm always wrestling my materials. So yeah, it's an interesting question. I find, but it doesn't mean that I'm not thrilled with the process. I'm thrilled with the process. But yeah, not opening night. I'll just, I mean, it's great. I mean, there's a joy. It makes me feel good when people come up after the show, and with Limbo especially, they're like, oh, that show made me want to do things. So I think that's the thrilling part. Yeah, I it's interesting. You're asking interesting questions.
Awesome. Are you
Yeah,
performing live each night or is it like
yeah.
pre-recorded music? Okay, it's live.
Oh, it's very live. This is live fucking music. And you know, it, it's very live, and it has all the amazing things that when I was little, when I was young, I went to punk rock shows, and I was used to seeing bands up close because there'd be a pit, in my small town. You go to the punk rock show, and aside from that, it was all Appalachian musicians around me. So I go and I love that live tactile real thing. And I think it's people kind of forget what that is anymore, because we have such a mediated experience with this and everything. But when you really tap into that live thing, I love the grit and spit of it.
Awesome. And this is the second show by Stratton Fret to grace the Grand Electric, with their
Hmm.
previous show, Blanc de Blanc
Hmm.
Encore, doing incredibly well,
Yeah,
having a
great
very
show.
extended season.
Yeah,
Um, did that add more pressure coming into this show to sort of live up to those standards?
no, no, not at all. It's a totally different show, and this show's amazing. Like that's not even, and it's musically incredible. I don't even you can't touch it. There's not a circus show on the planet with music as good as this. There's some great ones, that are probably I would say not better. I really love the music. What do they call that group from Canada? Oh, my
Cirque du
brain.
Soleil?
No, no, their show is called Animal, and they are called Cirque Alphonse. Animal. Cirque Alphonse has amazing music in their shows. It's so good. A lot of circus music is, people play their pop tracks, they like it, it's great, but it's not live. Or there's the kind of like I think it's a lot of representational music, meaning emotionally representational music. Like, all right, something's beautiful that is happening, so we're going to write beautiful music. Is
Mhm.
it really beautiful, or is it just the shape of beautiful music? Here's some funny music. Is the music actually funny? Here's some sexy music. Is it actually sexy? Like any of these songs that are on in the show, you want to listen to on an album. Like it's music you want. It's real music, rather than I'm going to write a kind of quirky thing for this. It's like that's the difference. The sexy music in Limbo is actually sexy. The funny music is actually funny. The funky music is actually funny, and the beautiful music is actually beautiful. In the same way, a Radiohead song is beautiful. This music is beautiful music. So, or it's funny, or it's sexy, and also you'll hear a lot of stuff you've never heard before. So it's surprising.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, and I've been doing this for years, and it keeps getting better. Like I'm a crazy fucker with this stuff. So developing the logic of harmonicas and pitch shifters mixed with sousaphone, mixed with hip hop beats, mixed with human beatbox, mixed with and the electronics that everybody's using. It's its own little world, and I've been doing it with different musicians. Um, I call it the stuff I'm referring to is the harmonica stuff. I'm doing harmonicas through pitch shifters. So you play one note, creating a double note under it, and it becomes its own kind of really beefy sound. I'm using minor key harmonicas stacked on major keys, and I'm playing them at the same time so I can get like house music chords. And it's really music inspired by hip hop, punk, Balkan brass band music, and New Orleans brass band music, and kind of like you know. New York avant-garde, I would say, and electronic music. And I played this music at underground parties in New York and in London and in Berlin and in New Orleans and all these places. But the signature tune, there's a signature tune that everybody comes and sings to me after the show, um, which is played on two harmonicas. And if I, it's called "I Live in New York City," but we stripped out the words that say that.
Mhm.
But I wrote it in Australia while doing a different show for Scott in 2004. So sitting behind the tent at the Garden of Unearthly Delights in um, Adelaide during the Fringe so many years ago. So it's kind of like Australia has been a big part of this development too, and the musicians in the band. Uh, uh, Grant is he's playing sousaphone, which you don't have these in Australia. In American high schools, there's all these sousaphones. They're marching tubas, and I found out a lot of people don't know what they are here.
Yep.
But he's playing that with a sub octaver, so it gets this big beefy sound. And I've seen other sousaphone players do it, but not as good as him because he's really figured out how to approach the sound so that electronic effect and that sousaphone really become one instrument. And that's the secret with all this stuff. I always have all these pedals, and then you end up just using you innovation tends to be just one setting and one instrument through one pedal, and then mix. So Grant's great. He's also playing banjo and a bass trumpet in the show. We're all playing multiple instruments, and then Mick Stewart is the drummer, but he's actually a really amazing guitarist. But he's created this thing called a kalimba. It's about 15 kalimbas, thumb pianos with humbucker pickups, and he plays them with his fingers, and it sounds like you're putting your fingers on a Rhodes piano and plucking the tines. It's such a gorgeous, crazy sound. He uses a freeze pedal to create these sustained, uh, co- uh, these kind of sustained notes for chords, and so yeah, it's a lot of deep knowledge of the funny materials we're using. So I don't remember what the original question is, but that's my jet lagged answer.
It sounds like every element in this show has been like very carefully curated and really thought through in every way to
Mm,
make sure that the overall package is a phenomenal performance.
yeah, I mean that's that when this show really flies. And when the show first started, there wasn't anything else like this. Like it wasn't. We kind of set a new bar. And what's great about it is that the band. This is the original band that 10 years ago uh, was in the show, and the show has been in different art incarnations. And I stepped out of it for a bit. I taught my buddy Elias Khan, who's an incredible musician himself, to take on my role, and now it's the original band again, and we've never been better. Like the sound is just it's just great. So, but yeah, a lot of thought. I mean, you go in there not with not with everything crafted, but you throw a bunch of stuff at it, see what works, and you're constantly, even now we're constantly working on improving it, little moments. So it's not a it's living art. It's not solidified. Like we're so used to everything, listening to music, but there's no one there. It's a crystallization of it, of something that happened once. And then that's all kind of such a strange thing. We're talking to each other, but our image is bouncing up to a satellite. So
Mhm.
even when I see you, that's not the current you. You could argue that's true in real life too. So
Sounds like this show might evolve over the course of the season as well. Maybe like not
mm,
huge drastic
it,
changes,
it
but
does.
maybe slight small changes.
Small changes always happen. It really evolved it. I mean, it's been up. We've done 2 seasons. It really did the new. There's new stuff in it, and I think it's getting pretty set at this point. Yeah, but you never know. We're already adding a few things. Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry.
the
Go
the
on.
last couple of things is the Grand Electric, the venue itself. Have you had an
Mhm.
opportunity to sort of take it in and get a feel for the venue?
I have never been there. I
Okay.
will arrive there. That'll be my first. Though I hear great things about it. The pictures look
It's
good.
yeah, I went and saw Blanc de Blanc there, and it is a phenomenal venue.
Oh,
Everything that
that's a
Scott
great
does
venue.
is
That
awesome as well.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. Great character. I love working with him.
Alrighty, so the last thing is finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your creative journey moving forward?
Oh man, I think Instagram, Skip Shirey official is the best. All the social media is so weird now anyway because you put something out there and they don't.
Yeah, it doesn't get shown to
No one
anybody.
sees it. Unfortunately, my I'm an artist, but I'm also a very politically active person. So if you hate politics, then you probably shouldn't. And I'll talk about stuff. You shouldn't follow me, but the best place really at this point is Instagram. It's
Yep.
the kind of the last way to communicate. I have albums out. My last album, unfortunately, my label folded and it was taken off Spotify and everything. So that's going to take me a few months to get sorted. But on Bandcamp, my albums exist. But the most recent album, A Bottle of Whiskey and a Handful of Bees, uh, isn't available online right now, which is crazy to me. But that's just happened. So yeah,
And then yeah, obviously the best way I guess is to come check out the show, and tickets are available at
yeah. I mean,
limbothereturn.com.
I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've failed. Like most artists, I've failed things, but this is the one where I'm just like, this is fucking amazing. Like this is a great show. This band is an amazing band. You know. So yeah, I feel I can stand behind what I'm doing right now
Alrighty,
and
perfect.
encourage people to come to the show. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to
All
chat with
right.
me, and good luck with the show, and hopefully catch you there.
Oh, nice to talk to you.